Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports Podcast, the college offseason podcast. Wait a minute, is Matt on the show? Okay, sweet. Where we're less of the regular season, but more of the offseason. I do want to say that even though we are a college offseason podcast, usually the NFL Combine wouldn't be, the first idea that comes to mind when we talk about something in, college sports, but it does involve some of the best players from college football a year ago leaving. And what Ryan and I are going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the best performances from the NFL Combine, maybe some of the worst, and we're going to basically just chat, chop it up, talk about did we see any of this coming, just based on what we saw from them in college. So, without
Hey
further
Les,
ado, hey, what?
I before we really get into it, Les just came back from vacation. Can you do a quick describe how your vacation was?
Oh, it
Welcome
was a
back.
great. You appreciate it. Welcome. It was a great time. If you have never been to Mardi Gras, definitely go. It's definitely an experience, a lot of culture involved, very good time. Even someone like me who doesn't even like crowds particularly, it was pretty fun. So, got to see a lot of cool things, do a lot of cool things, and of course, the food down in New Orleans is amazing. So, you got to check it out. But, thank you for that, Ryan. Also, speaking of which, I'm going to return the favor to you and just tell you that this is a safe space. I know your boy Will Howard's been getting hated on about his performance at the combine. This is your opportunity. You can either, defend him or not defend him. Hey, that's up to you, but the floor is yours.
I am gonna defend him. I know he did not have. I watched the combine. I watched his throwing session. He did not have a great combine. I don't think he really impressed a lot of people. I'm happy that he actually worked out at the combine and did it and didn't like sit out like a lot of players do, which I get that part sitting out. If you're like a high draft pick and you the only way you can do like is go down, then yeah, that's smart to sit out. But I'm going to defend him, and I'm not really worried about how his combine performance was because we've seen Will Howard play at the highest level when it matters. He led the greatest run in college football history, and he was playing his best ball when it mattered. I mean, at the end of the season, we needed his best ball in order to win the national championship, and that's what he did. He delivered. He's a gamer. He'll get it done. Will Howard is a very confident guy, and he did not have a great he didn't have a great combine, which I I honestly didn't expect him to do that well because I feel like that's just not like him just sitting back there like no one's approaching, like no defensive players, and just it's like mainly bad accuracy and power on the ball. But he's a gamer. He's gonna get it done in games. I really hope he has a successful NFL career, and I'm excited to see where he goes on draft day. But yeah, I'm gonna defend him. I'm not really worried about how he did at the combine. I think that he will still be successful no matter where he goes.
And kind of to defend your point on that, it is hard to take a new group of receivers that you have
Oh yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
no chemistry with and then like have them and throw perfect balls to them. And not
yeah,
to mention all that combine stuff is nice, but I mean, what you do on the field is ultimately what matters. So I
yeah.
say that ironically as we're
He
talking
has
about the combine today, but hey, that's what we do here.
he has the oh my gosh, he has the film that it took me to a different screen because something popped up, but he has the film that backs it up. So that's really a lot, most of what it matters.
And talent and all everything is nice, how far you can throw, how pretty your spiral is. All that's great, but results and moxie and toughness, they matter as well. So we've seen plenty of quarterbacks over the years that, weren't the ideal image of what a quarterback that the scouts are looking for, and then they come in and
Yeah,
have a good career. You look at Brock Purdy at San Francisco, you look at Dak Prescott, which that one actually surprised me, I'm not going to lie, but hey, I digress. But, and many
yeah,
others. Of course, Tom Brady was a six round 199. So
yeah. And the word moxie, we'll get to that later in the episode.
oh, we will. Oh, I'm looking forward to it now. But of course, we can't talk about the combine without me talking about how my Texas Longhorns dominated the combine again. I said it on last year's episode. It was the Texas two-step. It's the Texas show. This year, 14 players were invited to the combine, back-to-back years with over 10. Jahdae Barron ran his 40 time. Now all of a sudden he's the best DB in the draft. I already knew that personally, but that I digress. Quinn had the second best quarterback performance behind Jackson Dart, according to several experts. Um, Two of the top 10 fastest receivers. And of course, all this makes Texas even more of a recruiting power. And not to mention, they're bringing in the number one class next year. So they're already doing pretty good. But when you have a goal of like developing players and getting them to the top level, and then they come in and they dominate the combine like that, that only makes it look that much better that that school can fit your needs as a developmental program. And I would be remiss, and I can't even get the word out, but that's not the point. Um, if I didn't talk about someone who isn't on the podcast today, Matthew McClellan, DeMatt,
Matt.
because it's not often that Matt stumps me on my own team, but he did. He did with Matthew Golden, and of course, even though he couldn't be on the show today, he did leave us with this message that I'm going to read to you. And then he says, Stephen A. Smith disaster waiting to happen, cackling, which, I mean, I don't know if y'all been watching SportsCenter. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is kind of in the news for something right now. But
Yeah.
and he came out that confrontation with LeBron looking like a whole new man. I'm not gonna lie.
LeBron LeBron did not give him time to respond. That's
No,
how mad he
not at
was.
all. But back to what Matt said. So, Less the Mess Abbott really thought I wasn't gonna get my 2 cents in today. Ha! Don't make me laugh, brother. When you bear the title of mid-major Matt, you know your business and you stand on that business. I like where this is going. I'm not gonna lie. I tell you all the time to look out for the players, and then you don't. When will you realize that I am Thanos? I am inevitable. I am the one watching the Big South and the Missouri Valley tournaments daily, so I can do this again next week, next year, next football season, and beyond. Matthew Golden was one of my better choices, yeah, but he bears the sacred vow of madness failure wasn't an option. Maybe this time Les will learn. Nah. I'm gonna get to the cut this promo again soon, very soon, because I have a vision, nay the power of 10,000 student athletes on my side just looking to add to that legacy. Stand ready for my arrival. Also, I love how he ends this too. He goes, also, hi Ryan. I get completely shitted
What's
on and
up?
he gets and Ryan gets a hi Ryan. I love it.
Yeah. I get the nice Matt. You get like he's gonna come after you.
I mean, in all fairness to Matt, he probably deserves to come after me from time to time. He did stump me on my own team, so that's
No, it
that's
happens.
valid.
It
It
happens.
does. I mean, it does. I don't like. I mean, I'd like to limit it, but I mean, it does happen from time to time. But yeah, great, definitely great prediction by our own mid-major Matt, who I have a feeling based on a video that we posted on the side quest on TikTok and the YouTube Shorts that mid-major Matt's going to have a lot to say in the coming weeks.
Yep, he
But
will.
anyways, speaking of players that may or may not looked good, we're going to take it to a player that did not perform at the combine, or at least did not throw at the combine. Shadur Sanders, apparently, according to an anonymous coach, he was very unprofessional, and apparently that's been one of the bigger stories from the combine. I mean, it's rare that one of the bigger stories comes from a player who didn't throw or didn't, compete in athletic events, but yeah, Shadur Sanders, apparently he's unprofessional. So Ryan, what do you think about that?
So I had to take a quick look up because I honestly did not hear about this until Les said something. But a team said that he was brash and arrogant, which doesn't make a lot of sense because that sounds like they don't brash and arrogant mean that you have like a lot of like it's like self-importance and like you have a lot of confidence in yourself and kind of coming off as like bragging and stuff like that. Do you not want your quarterback to have confidence and to brag about themselves? You want them to tell you how or what abilities that they can do. That didn't really make a lot of sense with me, but it seems like a lot with these draft prospects that when they're about to get drafted, they say something or something comes out just to I don't know, maybe try to take their draft stock down and like something negative effect on this draft process for these draftees. But so I guess this is what happened. This is what's they're bringing out for Shador Sanders. But the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If you remember, which I don't, I wasn't alive. Dion, when he got drafted, the New York Giants asked him to do a written test, and he asked what pick they had. They said we have 10. He said, "I'll be gone before that. I don't have time for this. I'll see you later." That's what he said. And so that he had confidence, so that means his son's most likely going to have confidence. So I don't really get them calling him brash or arrogant because that just sounds like they don't want their quarterback to have confidence in himself. They just they want their quarterback to be nervous, be all uptight, have some butt sweat in their seat when they get up, and say maybe I can get it done. I'm not really sure. I'm not really that confident in myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
draft you. I would not draft you at that point. Like, oh, maybe I
no,
can be your guy. Like, no, I don't. Okay, you're not my guy. Bye.
yeah, so I mean, that's just I don't really get it being brash and arrogant. I don't know how that's really a negative effect whenever you're going into the NFL as a quarterback, but yeah, that's just my views on it. He's
I love what
unprofessional, I guess.
I guess he's unprofessional because I guess confidence is unprofessional, I guess. But I love what you said about that because I want my starting quarterback to be confident in themselves. And I think the coach who said that could take something from it because he wasn't even confident to put his name out there. You're not
Yeah,
even confident to stand on business on what you said about it, dude. Like, why the hell are you talking about somebody else? Like,
I know.
not to
It's just
mention,
like they do this all the time.
right. And I mean, I think we know why. We're not going to get into it on this podcast, but we know why that is. But at the end of the day, I love the process of how this like got broken down too, because it's like, okay, was he disrespectful? No. Did he answer all your questions? Yes. And it just like checks the boxes. Like he did everything he was supposed to do, but you're saying he was unprofessional. It's like, okay. At the end of the day, Shador Sanders can ball, and he's confident. That's all it should be about. And um, yeah, he checked all the boxes. So I don't know why they need to make that a story, but I guess if it wasn't for who his daddy is,
Yeah, just being extra.
it's being hella extra. But anyways, also Cam, I didn't put this in the questions, but I'm going to talk about Cam Ward. How do you think he's going to fare not competing in athletic events at the combine? How do you think that will or will not affect his draft stock?
Well, I did read that it was like, oh, Shador had a terrible interviews and stuff like that. But Cam Ward, we loved Cam Ward. He had a great interviews and stuff like that. So they were loving Cam Ward and hating Shador Sanders. But I think that I think he'll be fine. I with this draft, I have no clue. I mean, there is not a set number one pick. I mean, Cam Ward's up there, but I've seen mock drafts where it could be, like guys like Abdul Carter, even though he got injured, and Shador is still an option. But I have no clue with this draft who is going to be like in the top five. It's not secured,
Yeah,
but I
it
think
just
that
all depends on team need right now. What
yeah,
does that team
and
need? Like, what do they value right now?
yeah, and I think he'll be fine with not throwing and stuff like that. But I don't know if this is a dumb question or anything. What is more important, the combine or your pro day?
That's actually a great question. Um, I would personally say they're about equal.
Yeah, and is he? You know if he's throwing it in the pro day?
Yeah, I think Cam Ward's throwing his pro day. So
Okay,
he just
a lot
wasn't
of
gonna do it
people
at
are doing
combine.
it. Like, some of the Ohio State guys that didn't participate in the combine are doing their pro day. So and that should be coming up soon. So we'll see that. But uh, but yeah, I think Cam Ward will be just fine and not throwing. He'll show his skills in the pro day. He'll probably ball out because that's what Cam Ward does.
That's what he does. I dig it. Stand on business. That's a popular theme on this podcast. But speaking of players that are going to ball out, we're going to talk, or not ball out, depending on how your perspective on it. We're going to get into a player that maybe had the best performance or helped their draft stock the most, and then the player that probably hurt their draft stock the most. And we're going to start obviously with the best because we prefer the good things first on this podcast. So Ryan, who had the best performance, as in? he helped his draft stock the most in your eyes?
Um, who helped his draft stock most? I'm gonna go with. I was watching the combine. This and the media couldn't stop talking about him whenever the D line were up. I'm gonna go with Landon Jackson, the 6'6", 264 edge from Arkansas. He he did a lot of things well, and he looked really, really good and very athletic as a 6'6" D lineman. He had the best vertical jump of the D lineman and best vertical by a guy that's 260 or more since Miles Garrett. So that's pretty cool to have that as an attribute.
Which I'm
Uh,
gonna stop you right there. If you're putting your name in like the same conversation as Miles Garrett as far as athletic ability, like you're doing something right.
yeah,
That
yeah,
dude's a monster.
yeah. He's doing something right. His 40 was 4.68, which I thought was very good as a D lineman. He's a very athletic D lineman, very long and tall. No Diddy. Uh, but yeah, he also had a strong Senior Bowl, which is obviously not a part of the combine, but it's very important to have a good senior.
It's still part of the draft process,
Yeah.
so yeah.
But everyone's seen that viral video of him in high school when he was going through the D line drills and he was slapping the pads. It was basically like you're going to slap someone, like that, and everyone everyone was clowning him for that, but he came back and he did the same drill and he did it right this time. But
Player
yeah,
development matters. Absolutely. Shout
yes,
out to Arkansas. Shout out to Landon
Arkansas
Jackson.
changed his the way he slaps the pads, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Landon Jackson. I was very impressed with him, and he really stood out a part of the D lineman.
I'm going to go with another lineman, but I'm going to go on the offensive lineman aspect of it, and I'm going to go with Missouri's Armand Mimbu. I listen, if you're running a 4.91 at 332 pounds, that's insane. Like that is moving at that speed. And people don't understand how hard that is to do. And I don't know what they're feeding these athletes nowadays, but it seems like every year now we're getting some like big 330 plus pound dude who's like running a sub 5 40 yard dash. And it's just like, man, these athletes are different nowadays. Not to mention, he ranked first with a 94 overall athletic grade, which was first out of all offensive tackles that participated at the combine. I mean, definitely helped his draft stock. I mean, a lot. But yeah, these athletes nowadays are different. Like some of the things that they're doing. Like when I was growing up, first started following the combine, that it was like unheard of. You're not hearing about 330 pound dudes running sub 5 40 yard dashes. I mean, hell, you're doing good to do. When I was growing up, they're doing good to get a 5.2, let alone a 4.9 or a 4.8 or whatever some of these dudes are running. But no, definitely shout out to Armand Mimbu on that one. I don't want to butcher your name. But nah,
Um,
definitely boosted his draft stock as far as offensive tackles go.
yeah, and I think that's probably one of the more that's one of the more positive sides of the combine because you can really show your speed when if they didn't have the combine, they would have not known that he would run a sub five. So that's really one of the more positive aspects of the combine as an offensive lineman. You want to show you how your speed is and how change of direction is.
Fair enough. So now we're gonna get to the worst performance. Who hurt their draft stock the most? Who you got, Ryan?
Okay, so my answer is going to be more of who had a bad combine instead of hurting their draft stock because I don't really think they hurt their draft stock. But this is your guy. I'm going to go with Gunnar Helm, and it's not
Whoa,
his
whoa,
numbers. Hold on,
whoa.
hold on.
Hold on.
Let me get to the point. Let me get to the point.
Okay, okay.
His numbers were not great. He had a 4.8, 440, and not great vertical jump. But we know why. He hurt. He sprained his ankle. That's why he had a bad. That's why in my answer is he had a bad combine because he got injured from it. He didn't expect to go into the combine and have a sprained ankle. And I don't know if you've seen the picture from it.
Yes, it's nasty.
Absolutely disgusting. I mean, it's like
If I'm a team and you're like still competing in drills on that, I'm impressed. That's just me
yes,
though.
yeah, yeah. But they said he'll be fine by the pro day. So that's the reason why I said Gunnar Helm because he got injured from the
Yeah,
NFL
okay. I see
combine.
what you're saying now.
Which is
Yeah, I see what
a
you're
very
saying.
good. I mean that sucks, but he kept going and Yeah, his ankle looks disgusting. I mean, it is fat.
But I
But
mean, he definitely passed all the moxie tests at the combine for sure. If you're competing on
yeah,
that
for
thing, I
sure.
mean, yeah, you do you a man, you that man. And I
But
gotta
yeah,
and be before I get to my worst performance in the combine, I do got a hot take for you, and I want to see where you stand on it. And it has to do with Gunnar Helm, so I'm not completely going off the deep end here. But maybe this is me being a Texas fan. But there's only one tight end in this draft I would draft over Gunnar Helm, and that's Tyler Warren. I mean, when I look at who checks all the boxes, I mean, Gunnar Helm, a guy who worked his tail off and improved dramatically from his freshman season to his last season at Texas, a guy that is a good pass catcher. He can run the deep routes, he can run the middle routes, not to mention he's a good blocker. You got someone like Fanine, from Bowling Green, who is an elite he's an elite receiving threat as a tight end, but blocking's kind of up for debate. Gunnar Helm kind of does everything. The only one I think that to me, from based on what I watched in college, that I could see getting should be getting drafted above Gunnar is Tyler Warren, but that dude's baby Gronk 2.0, so that's a little different.
he's yeah, he's kind of different.
Yeah,
Uh
he's kind of different. Okay, I just thought about out loud, like I didn't mean to throw the influencer baby Gronk reference out there. I mean, no, this dude like legitimately like a miniature Gronk. Yeah, I know apparently he commits to another school every week. I mean,
yeah,
it's a shame we don't cover it on the
it's
Less is More Sports podcast. Baby
it's
Gronk's a
annoying
different.
because it's not even him, it's his dad that's
Nah, facts. It's so annoying. And now apparently
but
he said he was dating Livy Dune or something. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Paul Skeens has something to say about that, but sure.
yeah, that's a whole that's a whole thing. We could, that could be a whole episode worth. But I just wanted to say, this this tight end class is super super deep. Like I love this tight end class that's going to the NFL. Like we have Tyler Warren, we have Colson Loveland, Harold Fannin, Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson. I know there's more than I'm missing, but it's super super deep, and this could be a great tight end class that it ends up in the NFL if we look at it back in or like in the next 5 years. Like I'm very very like if a team's looking for a tight end, this is the class that you want. I'm
I
pretty
feel like
positive.
tight ends have been a growing, like, important position in football, like the last
Yeah,
several years. I mean, well, I'm
I
wrong.
mean,
Like, real ball knowers know they were always an important position, but like
yeah,
they've grown in popularity, especially here recently with the likes of Travis Kelce and George Kittle and all them.
Brock
Like they're
Bowers
they're becoming, yeah, they're Brock Bowers too. Yeah, absolutely.
balling.
And they're becoming more household names than maybe they were in the past. I know back when I was growing up, Tony G, Antonio Gates, of course, the mid 2010s you had Gronk, of course, but like now your tight ends are really becoming your household names. And like you said, I mean, we have a lot of good tight end options in this draft class. And I still say that the only one I would take over Gunnar Helm was Tyler Warren.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean Tyler Warren, he's he was like besides the running backs, he was Penn State's whole offense. I mean the
Yeah,
running back.
he was their receiving threat because
Tyler
like
Warren was the guy you had to key in on to stop on defense.
because they didn't get any production out of your former Ohio State Buckeye.
No,
That was
no, I mean they did nothing with him. I mean, when he
Which
got
that
there, he
surprises me because I watched Fleming as a recruit, and I thought at the very least he'd be like a really good slot route
yeah,
runner to like kind of especially be a threat in the underneath routes.
yeah, and he I saw a thing that like he had to tell the receivers to use his jugs machine more when he got to Penn State. So that's not a good look.
No, it's not.
But
Ohio State's doing it right.
I wish Julian Fleming would have been better. I know he dealt with a ton of injuries, and it disappointed me because I loved him as a recruit. I mean, he came in with like Jackson Smith and Jigba, and
Yeah,
he's
plus if you take a step back in that Ohio State receiving core, like it's not like taking a step back in most receiving cores, let's be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. But but yeah, um, yeah. Tyler Warren he's a different animal. Just go watch the film.
Fair enough. And so I guess that leads me to the last question that
Yeah,
we have planned before we go off the deep end and give off some other rambles before we end the show. My worst performance was Tez Johnson from Oregon. And of course, it was basically because of his 40 time. Now, for most players, it's not bad, a 4.51. But the problem is he's only 154 pounds. So when you're that, light, you expect to run a faster 40 time, which honestly kind of surprises me because he was a very good deep threat at Oregon. And I'm starting to wonder, is this an Oregon thing? Because I remembered over the years, like watching Oregon football games, that there's a lot of players that they've had that seem like they should be way faster than what they ran at the combine. I remember the
Yeah.
first one that really stood out was DeAnthony Thomas. He was dying. You probably were like
I
a
was a little
child.
young.
Yeah, you were a child when he was playing there. Because I was like, I was in high school. So you were probably like just starting to watch football, but like this dude was so electric, dynamic in the open field. And then I think he ran like a 4.5 at the combine too, and I was surprised. Somebody can definitely fact check me in the comments on that. But he didn't but basically I was expecting at worst like a 4.3 just because of how fast he was. So I don't know if it's just how Oregon has a knack for getting their athletes in open spaces to where they look faster than what they are, but yeah, they've had several guys over the years where I'm just like, I feel like you should be running a lot faster than what you are, but that's
Yeah,
neither here nor there. But yeah, Tez Johnson, if you're 154 pounds, you got to get them 40 times up, my guy.
yeah, and I do want to say, in weightlifting we weighed in yesterday, and I'm 158 pounds. Um, so yeah, that's like, and I was, we were all expecting to have a different, better 40 than he did because he needs to have a good 40 because of his height and weight. 5'9", 154 pounds, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I was not impressed with him at all. And um, yeah, I don't know. He was super fast and very twitchy and changed direction. He was very good at Oregon, but not very impressed with his combine with with the height and weight that he had.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. At that weight, you don't want to be taking too many hits, and if you can't
Oh,
outrun them,
he's like a
you gotta rely solely on your elusiveness at that point.
yeah. I mean, he might have to do the Tyler Lockett thing where you catch and get down.
But yeah, I mean, which isn't the worst thing. I mean, Marvin Harrison
No,
did it
the
towards the end of
worst.
his career. Not your guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., but his dad. He did that a lot towards the end of his career, but it
The
was
worst.
smart. But yeah, I mean, if you get the yards needed, I mean, why not? I guess. But yeah, Tyler Lockett's that's something he's gotten better at as he's gotten older because I mean, you can't just be taking those hits at certain weights. I mean, you're just not gonna last.
Yeah. Would you compare him, Tez Johnson, to a Tyler Lockett just with
Yeah,
size?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, size and play style, for being
Yeah.
completely honest. I mean, like he was Russell Wilson's deep threat in Seattle, and Tez Johnson was kind of Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix's deep threat, at Oregon. So
Yeah.
kind of they are. That's a very good comparison. Yeah, Tyler Lockett was very similar at Kansas State. So
Yeah.
well, we got through those questions fast, so now we can just talk about anything that we want as far as combine and stars go. So I guess I'll lead with this. Jackson Dart had the best performance from the quarterbacks. Do you think that's imperative to like what we saw on the field at Ole Miss, or do you think he's one of those guys that like is good of an as I'm trying to think of how to word this because it's kind of a strange question. I'm not gonna lie. Lane Kiffin definitely is a great offensive play caller. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if Jackson Dart is looking significantly as the best thrower at the combine, do you think his ability that based on what he showed, he has the ability to, even take that next step at the pros?
Yeah. I think he could. I think he has a lot, most of the abilities to be really, really good. He threw for a ton of yards at Ole Miss, which they were a very high-powered offense. They could throw a deep ball no matter what. Um, but yeah, I'm not. Um, See, I don't know how to feel about Jackson Dart.
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked it. It's weird because I don't know how to feel about him
Yeah,
either.
because he could be really, really good, or he could be really, really bad at it. I just, I don't know how to feel. I see the very good upside. Big quarterback, pretty accurate, throw the deep ball, could do most things. I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about Jackson Dart. I could see him being really good and being like that sneaky because they could have him going first round or they could have him going like third round. Like there's it's one or the other that I see on these mock drafts. So I have honestly no clue what to think about him. I could think he'd be really good though. I mean, Lane Kiffin is a very good offensive coach. they're just, you know, at Ole
Yeah, and
Miss. Besides them
that's
beating Georgia, they can't beat like the big teams to get into the playoffs and stuff like that. And they lose to terrible teams. So
yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about it because if Jackson Dart is given how good of a play caller Lane Kiffin is as far as offensively, and you're having some of the best performances at the combine. Don't get me wrong, Jackson Dart had a good career at Ole Miss.
yeah,
No, don't get me wrong, but if he's this good to where he's going to be even better in the pros, you would expect him to have a little bit better production, I guess, in college. But I guess you can say the same about Quinn Ewers too. I mean, because I
yeah,
think Quinn Ewers in the right offense in the NFL, given especially how elite he is in running RPOs. But you expect, especially with the weapons he had at Texas too, you can make the same argument, I guess, about him. But I don't know, Jackson Dart.
yeah.
I mean, he's good. And I had Jackson Dart years ago. I had Jackson Dart's high school teammate on this podcast, so he'll probably hate me for saying this, but I guess I just expected more out of him. I guess going to a program like Ole Miss, playing for somebody like Lane Kiffin, and I don't know. He's
Yeah.
good. Like I said, it's like you said. I don't know how to feel about him.
And
So
he started out with going to USC with Lincoln Riley.
yeah,
But I want to add a player that I think also helped their draft stock and had a good. And I'm going to go to actually my team. Quinshon Judkins had a very good combine. His 40 was really, really good. And we thought that there was a big difference between him and Travion's speed. But Quinshon's speed at the combine in his 40 was really, really good. And his drills looked really good. So I think that that could help his draft stock a lot. And he could be a very good NFL player.
yeah. I always felt like Quinshon is a better fit for the pros than even the college game. Like he's definitely a good college running back, but I feel like his game is more tailor made, especially for the modern NFL. So I can
Yeah.
definitely see that. Can definitely see that.
Yeah. But I mean, I watch most days of the combine whenever I could, whenever I wasn't at work. But I didn't watch the O lineman.
Yeah, apparently Will Campbell had a really good showing too.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the star LSU offensive lineman.
Kelvin Banks didn't perform, did he?
No.
Okay, yeah. I saw Will Campbell and Donovan Jackson had a good one. Josh Simmons from Ohio State did not perform. I don't think he could at the pro day, but he's coming off an like season-ending
Yeah,
injury.
Kelvin Banks kind of had like a Shadur Sanders and a Cam Ward. He interviewed, but he didn't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
compete.
yeah. But I mean, yeah. But I'm just excited for the draft that comes up April 24th, Thursday. Always on a Thursday. Love it. Can't wait for that day. They schedule me at work. That'd be unfortunate. I have to call off for that. I usually watch the draft with my dad and his friend. It's always super fun. Can't wait for the draft. And I'm a Browns fan, so we have second overall pick. See what we're gonna mess up this year, or
That's the spirit.
if we surprisingly do well with a pick. I don't know what we need. I don't want a quarterback, but
As a Colts fan, I would love for the Colts to draft Jahdae Barron so bad. As my name on this podcast is on the Zoom link, Jahdae Barron Stan account. But here's what I've told some of my other Colts fans friends. A lot of my, some of them want Malachi Starks really bad, the safety out of Georgia. And here's what I've always said about that. If we want a safety specifically, then yeah, Starks is your guy. But our whole secondary needs work. So, and you take somebody like Jade who can literally play anywhere in the secondary. That's a great choice. So, no, I would love for the Colts to draft Jade, but very rarely does our front office draft who I want. So I would not get my hopes up.
yeah,
I mean,
that's how it works. All right. Um,
yeah, I don't have a say in this at all. It's like not like
um,
I run a podcast about college football players and college basketball players, but hey.
um, like I say, what about Tyler Warren? Would you want them to draft Tyler Warren?
Yeah, I mean, sure, absolutely, because I think tight end is an area of need. Because we have three tight ends that all do different things well, but I think with an elite tight end room in the NFL nowadays, you need that one guy who kind of does everything, and that would be Tyler Warren. So yeah, they want to draft Tyler Warren at 15. I'm good with that. Not gonna lie, I think secondary is a bigger issue of need for us, but
Yeah.
I also don't, like I just said, I don't make the decisions, so they don't do what I want. So
And we're gonna probably trade Miles Garrett eventually. I know as much as they don't want to, but it feels like we're ruining his career because he can't do anything or he can't win with the Browns because we're not good. But we need offense. We need some type of offense. I would like to get a quarterback later in the draft and draft someone valuable in the second overall pick.
just
I would
don't
love
draft my guy
offense.
Quinn Ewers, please. Do not ruin him. Do not. I don't want Quinn Ewers to be another long line of Browns flop quarterbacks.
There is a very long line. I mean, it's
Ironically, the team I think Quinn Ewers would fit the best with just traded their starting quarterback to the Raiders, and that's the Seahawks. I don't know what it is, but I feel like Quinn could fit with the Seahawks really well. Now, it would hurt if they trade DK, but they already
yeah.
traded.
Well, they
Didn't they just?
released Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just released Tyler Lockett. Now DK's already talking about he wanting out. But I mean they've built a lot of young. Yeah, they've built like a pretty good young core that I feel like if they develop the next couple of years will be pretty good. Not to mention, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure some they got some guys that Quinn played with at Texas. I'm gonna
We
recheck their
have
roster real quick.
well, Kenneth Walker's a very good young back, and so is Charbonneau.
I love Charbonnet at UCLA.
Charbonnet, yeah. Uh, he's very good, and JSN just came off of 1,000 yard receiving season.
Hmm.
I mean, Seattle has some young stars with
Oh,
him.
Byron Murphy, duh. I
Oh
forgot.
yeah,
Yeah, Byron Murphy's who I was thinking of. And I mean, yeah, I love the way they've drafted low key the last several years, but I think they just got to all learn to gel together. All right, well, we got about a minute left before we're taking off by the timer. So as always, like and subscribe to the Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel to get the latest updates of content we have coming out. Also, be sure to follow our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Not to mention, follow the side quest on the TikTok channel. That's at BeansDad018. So, what are we going to get cut off by the timer by today?
I'm gonna switch topics real quick. March Madness is coming up, and I could not be more excited because of the Louisville Cardinals. No, no, no. Okay, and you put on Twitter you did not have to use that Cooper Flag dunking against
Yes, I
Louisville.
did. Yes, I did.
No, there was multiple other pictures you could have used,
No, it was the best
and
one to
you chose
use.
that. But I'm excited for the tournaments, like ACC tournament and NCAA tournament.
Me too. And I think my Blue Devils are going to have a great postseason. And I
And
want to
and
shout out
the
myself for
you
my own food poisoning performance on this podcast. So